Respect is one of the most misunderstood forms of power. Most people spend their lives trying to be liked, believing that admiration naturally leads to influence. They smile when they should remain silent. They agree when they should disagree. They explain themselves endlessly, hoping others will finally understand them. But the truth is uncomfortable. People rarely respect those who constantly seek acceptance. Respect is not given because you ask for it. It is earned through the signals you send every single day. Human nature has remained remarkably consistent throughout history. Although technology changes, the psychology of status, authority, and influence remains the same. Every interaction becomes a silent negotiation. People unconsciously ask themselves, does this person control themselves? Can they be manipulated? Do they know their worth? Should I follow them, challenge them, or ignore them? The first battle for respect is never fought with another person. It is fought within yourself. Most people believe disrespect begins when someone interrupts them, ignores their opinion, or treats them poorly. In reality, disrespect often begins much earlier, when you lose control of your own emotions. Human beings constantly observe one another for signs of strength and weakness. They may not consciously realize it, but they are always asking the same silent question. Can this person remain composed under pressure? The answer to that question determines how they choose to treat you. A person who cannot control anger, frustration, fear, or insecurity unknowingly gives others permission to control them. Emotional reactions reveal where your buttons are, and once people discover those buttons, they know exactly how to influence your behavior. History repeatedly shows that the individuals who commanded lasting respect were rarely the loudest voices in the room. They were the ones who remained calm when everyone else was losing control. During moments of conflict, panic spreads quickly because emotions are contagious. The person who refuses to become infected by fear immediately stands apart. Calmness communicates certainty. It signals that your decisions are guided by reason instead of impulse. This is one of the oldest principles of power. The person who masters themselves becomes difficult to manipulate because their emotions are no longer controlled by external events. Many people make the mistake of believing that immediate reactions demonstrate confidence. They think responding instantly to criticism proves strength. They believe arguing against every accusation protects their reputation. The opposite is usually true. Instant reactions often reveal insecurity. When someone criticizes you and you rush to defend yourself, you unconsciously communicate that their opinion has authority over your emotional state. You hand them control without realizing it. Truly confident individuals understand that not every challenge deserves a response. Silence often creates more psychological pressure than endless explanations ever could. It forces others to question their own assumptions while allowing you to preserve your emotional balance. This does not mean becoming emotionally cold or indifferent. Emotional control is not emotional suppression. There is an important difference between feeling emotions and allowing those emotions to dictate your actions. Every person experiences anger, disappointment, anxiety, and frustration. The difference lies in what happens next. Powerful individuals create a pause between emotion and action. Within that pause exists choice. Instead of reacting automatically, they evaluate the situation objectively. They ask themselves whether speaking will improve the outcome or simply satisfy temporary emotion. That brief moment of discipline separates respected individuals from those who constantly lose influence. People instinctively trust those who remain steady during uncertainty. Imagine two leaders facing the same crisis. One begins blaming others, raising their voice, and making impulsive decisions. The other listens carefully, speaks calmly, and evaluates every option before acting. Which person naturally earns respect? The answer is obvious because human psychology favors stability. We look for emotional anchors during difficult moments. Those who become anchors gain authority without demanding it. Another reason emotional control commands respect is because it demonstrates independence. If another person's words can instantly change your mood, then they possess invisible power over you. Manipulative people understand this instinctively. They provoke emotional reactions because reactions reveal vulnerabilities. Once they know what offends you, frightens you, or frustrates you, they gain a map of your weaknesses. By refusing to react impulsively, you deny them valuable information. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability often creates respect because it makes manipulation far more difficult. There is also a deeper psychological effect taking place. People naturally mirror the emotional energy they receive. If you become defensive, others become more aggressive. If you remain composed, their emotional intensity often begins to fade. Calmness changes the atmosphere of an interaction. It shifts the balance of power without a single threat or raised voice. This is why self-control has always been considered one of the highest forms of strength. Anyone can react emotionally. Very few people possess enough discipline to choose restraint. Developing emotional control requires consistent practice rather than natural talent. It begins by observing your own reactions without immediately acting upon them. Notice what situations trigger anger, impatience, or insecurity. Instead of trying to eliminate those emotions, learn to delay your response. A few moments of silence can prevent decisions you later regret. Deep breathing, careful observation, and thoughtful reflection create space for wiser action. Over time, your mind becomes trained to respond intentionally instead of instinctively. The greatest source of respect does not come from intimidating others. It comes from demonstrating that your inner world cannot be easily shaken by external circumstances. When people realize they cannot provoke you into losing control, they begin treating you differently. They speak more carefully. They challenge you less recklessly. They recognize that your confidence is rooted in something deeper than pride. It is rooted in discipline. And discipline, more than talent, intelligence, or charm, is what makes respect appear almost instantly. One of the fastest ways to earn respect is not by speaking more, but by speaking with intention. In every social interaction, people unconsciously judge confidence through communication. They pay attention not only to what you say, but also to how you say it. When you choose to remain silent, and whether your words reflect certainty or insecurity. Many people mistakenly believe that dominating every conversation makes them appear powerful. In reality, those who constantly feel the need to prove themselves often reveal the opposite. True confidence does not rush to fill every moment of silence. It understands that words carry greater weight when they are chosen carefully rather than scattered carelessly. Modern society rewards constant communication. People are encouraged to share every opinion, defend every decision, and explain every action. Yet psychology suggests something different. The more a person explains themselves unnecessarily, the more they invite doubt. Every additional explanation creates another opportunity for others to question your reasoning. This is why influential individuals rarely over-justify their choices. They make decisions with clarity, communicate them simply, and allow their actions to speak louder than lengthy arguments. Confidence is communicated through simplicity. Insecurity often hides behind excessive detail. Silence is one of the most underestimated tools of influence. Many people become uncomfortable the moment a conversation pauses. They rush to speak because silence feels awkward. However, emotionally disciplined individuals understand that silence is not emptiness. It is presence. Remaining calm during a pause communicates patience, self-control, and confidence. It shows that you are not desperate for attention or approval. Ironically, the less you compete to be heard, the more carefully people begin listening when you finally speak. This principle becomes especially powerful during disagreements. Imagine someone challenges your opinion in front of others. Most people immediately interrupt, defend themselves, or raise their voice. They believe responding quickly proves strength. Yet instant reactions are usually driven by emotion rather than confidence. A composed individual listens completely before answering. They allow the other person to finish, take a brief pause, and respond with calm certainty. That small delay communicates something important. Your emotions do not control your decisions. People naturally respect those who think before they speak, because thoughtful communication reflects emotional maturity. Tone often influences respect more than vocabulary. You can possess brilliant ideas, but if your voice constantly seeks validation, people unconsciously question your authority. On the other hand, someone using simple language with calm certainty often appears far more persuasive. This is because confidence is contagious. A steady tone signals belief in your own message. It does not need dramatic gestures or exaggerated emotion to attract attention. Quiet certainty often commands more influence than loud enthusiasm because it suggests inner stability. Another mistake many people make is talking excessively about themselves. They believe sharing every achievement will convince others of their importance. In reality, genuine confidence rarely advertises itself. When people constantly mention their success, intelligence, or influence, they unintentionally communicate insecurity. Truly respected individuals allow others to discover their value naturally. They focus more on listening than impressing. Listening demonstrates strength because it reflects patience rather than ego. It allows you to gather information while encouraging others to reveal their thoughts, motivations, and weaknesses. The person who listens carefully usually understands the room better than the person who dominates it. Words also lose their power when they are inconsistent with actions. You cannot claim confidence while constantly apologizing for existing. You cannot demand respect while failing to respect your own commitments. Human beings instinctively notice contradictions. If your promises exceed your actions, trust begins to disappear. Quiet confidence is built through consistency. Every time your behavior matches your words, people become more certain about who you are. Predictable integrity creates credibility, and credibility naturally develops respect. Another characteristic of quiet confidence is the ability to accept criticism without becoming defensive. Defensive communication often signals fragile self-esteem. A confident person understands that criticism is simply information. Some of it may be useful, some of it may be completely wrong, but neither possibility requires emotional panic. Instead of arguing immediately, they evaluate the criticism objectively. If it contains truth, they improve. If it does not, they move forward without unnecessary conflict. This balanced approach makes others realize that your identity is not dependent upon constant approval. Perhaps the greatest communication skill is knowing when not to speak at all. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding requires correction. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Many conflicts continue only because both sides refuse to stop talking. Choosing silence at the right moment is not weakness. It is discipline. It communicates that your time, energy, and attention are valuable resources, not gifts given freely to every distraction. People often mistake silence for mystery, and mystery naturally increases perceived confidence because it leaves room for curiosity rather than overexposure. Ultimately, Respect is created less by impressive speeches than by controlled communication. Speak with purpose instead of urgency. Listen more than you interrupt. Allow silence to strengthen your presence rather than frighten you. Keep your words clear, your tone steady, and your actions consistent. When people realize that you neither chase attention nor fear quiet moments, they begin to view you differently. They recognize a confidence that does not depend on applause, arguments, or endless explanations. And that quiet confidence is often remembered long after louder voices have been forgotten. One of the deepest truths about human psychology is that respect follows value. People naturally pay attention to individuals who possess something difficult to replace. This value is not measured only by money, status, or popularity. It is measured by the unique skills, knowledge, discipline, and reliability you bring into the lives of others. Many people spend years chasing respect directly, demanding recognition before they have become indispensable. But respect is rarely the reward for asking. It is the consequence of becoming someone whose presence genuinely matters. When people know that your absence would be noticed, their behavior toward you begins to change. The mistake most people make is trying to appear important instead of becoming important. They invest enormous energy into creating an impressive image, hoping that confidence, expensive possessions, or social media attention will earn admiration. While appearances may attract temporary attention, they rarely create lasting respect. Human beings are remarkably skilled at detecting the difference between appearance and substance. Eventually, every reputation is tested. When that moment arrives, only genuine competence survives. Respect grows from consistent performance, not from carefully crafted appearances. Think about the individuals who naturally command authority in any profession. They are often not the loudest, the most charismatic, or the most aggressive. Instead, they are the people others turn to when problems become difficult. Their knowledge has been earned through years of discipline, observation, and continuous improvement. They solve problems instead of creating them. Their advice carries weight because it has been proven through action. People instinctively respect those who consistently provide value because competence creates trust, and trust creates influence. Developing rare skills is one of the strongest forms of psychological power. Every society rewards those who can accomplish what others cannot. Whether it is leadership, communication, negotiation, creativity, technical expertise, or emotional intelligence, mastering valuable abilities changes the way people perceive you. Instead of seeking approval, your focus shifts toward continuous growth. Ironically, the less energy you spend chasing recognition, the more recognition naturally follows. Excellence has a magnetic quality because people are drawn toward those who consistently perform at a higher level. Reliability is another overlooked source of respect. Many talented individuals fail to earn lasting influence because they cannot be depended upon. They make promises they do not keep. They begin projects they never finish. They arrive late, miss deadlines, or disappear when challenges become uncomfortable. Human psychology values consistency more than occasional brilliance. A person who delivers dependable results again and again often earns greater respect than someone with extraordinary talent, but unreliable behavior. Predictability in character creates confidence in others. When people know your word can be trusted, they stop questioning your intentions. Another important principle is refusing to make yourself constantly available. Many individuals believe that saying yes to every request makes them appear generous and likable. In reality, endless availability often reduces perceived value. Scarcity has always influenced human perception. We appreciate what is limited because it cannot be taken for granted. This does not mean becoming distant or arrogant. It means understanding that your time, energy, and attention are valuable resources. When you protect those resources carefully, others begin to value them as well. People often respect those who have clear priorities, because priorities signal self-respect. Creating value also requires continuous learning. The world changes rapidly, but the principle remains timeless. Those who stop learning gradually lose influence. Knowledge expands confidence because preparation reduces uncertainty. Every book you read, every skill you practice, every failure you analyze increases your ability to contribute meaningfully. Respect grows when people recognize that you consistently improve rather than remain comfortable. Continuous learning reflects humility because it acknowledges that mastery is never complete. Ironically, the more knowledgeable a person becomes, the less they feel the need to boast. Value is also created through emotional reliability. During difficult moments, people remember who remained calm, honest, and supportive. They remember who solved problems instead of spreading panic. They remember who accepted responsibility instead of making excuses. Character becomes most visible under pressure. Anyone can appear confident when circumstances are favorable. Genuine respect develops when your principles remain steady even during adversity. Integrity is a form of value that cannot be purchased or imitated. Once people believe your character is dependable, they begin trusting your judgment in situations that matter. There is another psychological principle at work. People naturally invest more attention in those who improve their own lives. If your conversations consistently inspire better thinking, your work solves meaningful problems, or your presence brings clarity instead of confusion, others begin associating you with positive outcomes. That association quietly elevates your status. You no longer need to remind people of your importance, because your contribution speaks for itself. This is why truly influential individuals focus less on receiving respect and more on creating impact. Respect becomes a byproduct of usefulness rather than the primary objective. Ultimately, lasting respect belongs to those who build themselves instead of advertising themselves. They spend more time developing skills than seeking compliments. They focus on becoming reliable rather than merely impressive. They understand that influence is earned through contribution, consistency, and discipline. When your presence consistently creates value, people stop seeing you as ordinary. They begin to recognize you as someone whose knowledge, judgment, and character cannot easily be replaced. At that moment, respect is no longer something you have to pursue. It becomes the natural response to the person you have chosen to become. Perhaps the clearest sign of self-respect is the ability to establish boundaries without seeking permission or approval. Many people confuse kindness with constant availability, believing that saying yes to every request will make others appreciate them. In reality, psychology suggests the opposite. When people discover that your time, energy, and attention have no limits, they often begin to take those things for granted. Respect declines whenever your standards become invisible. Human beings instinctively observe where your limits are. If you fail to define them, others will define them for you, usually in ways that benefit themselves rather than you. Boundaries are not walls built to keep people away. They are standards that teach others how you expect to be treated. Every interaction communicates these standards, whether you realize it or not. The way you respond to disrespect, the commitments you accept, the conversations you tolerate, and the behavior you overlook all become silent lessons. People learn from repetition. If someone repeatedly interrupts you without consequence, they assume interruption is acceptable. If someone constantly ignores your time while you continue accommodating them, They conclude your schedule is less important than theirs. This is not always driven by malice. More often, it is simple human nature. People naturally test limits until those limits become clear. One of the greatest fears people have is disappointing others. Because of this fear, they overcommit, apologize unnecessarily, and sacrifice their priorities to avoid conflict. While this may create temporary harmony, it often destroys long-term respect. Individuals who never express disagreement are rarely viewed as strong. Instead, they are seen as predictable, easy to persuade, and unlikely to resist pressure. Confidence is demonstrated when you can respectfully say no without feeling guilty. A simple refusal delivered with calm certainty communicates that your decisions are based on principles rather than the desire to be liked. Many individuals believe that defending every boundary requires confrontation. In reality, the strongest boundaries are often communicated quietly. You do not need to argue with everyone who crosses a line. Sometimes your response is simply withdrawing your time, your attention, or your participation. Actions frequently communicate more authority than emotional speeches. If someone repeatedly disrespects your standards, reducing your availability sends a message that endless explanations never could. People pay attention when access to your presence becomes dependent upon mutual respect. Another important principle is consistency. Boundaries lose their power when they change according to convenience. If you enforce a standard one day but ignore it the next, people become confused about where the limits truly exist. Human psychology adapts quickly to inconsistency. The moment others realize your standards are flexible under pressure, they begin testing them more frequently. Consistent behavior creates predictability, and predictability creates credibility. When people know your principles remain steady regardless of the situation, they stop wasting energy trying to persuade you otherwise. There is also a significant difference between aggression and assertiveness. Aggressive people attempt to control everyone around them. Assertive people simply control themselves. Aggression often comes from insecurity because it depends on overpowering others. Assertiveness comes from confidence because it requires no intimidation. A calm statement such as, "I am not available for that," often carries greater authority than an emotional argument. The quieter your confidence becomes, the less energy you need to defend it. People recognize the difference between someone trying to appear powerful and someone who genuinely believes in their own standards. Boundaries also protect your emotional energy. Every unnecessary argument, every toxic relationship, and every endless attempt to please impossible people consumes attention that could have been invested elsewhere. Highly respected individuals understand that attention is one of life's most valuable resources. They choose carefully where to invest it. They do not allow every criticism, opinion, or demand to become their personal responsibility. Instead, they focus on what aligns with their values and long-term goals. This selective attention gives them clarity while others become exhausted trying to satisfy everyone. An often overlooked aspect of boundaries is the willingness to accept temporary discomfort. Saying no may disappoint someone. Walking away from disrespect may create tension. Refusing unfair treatment may invite criticism. Yet these moments of discomfort are usually short-lived compared to the lasting consequences of abandoning your principles. Every time you ignore your own standards to gain approval, you weaken your confidence. Every time you honor your standards despite external pressure, you strengthen your identity. Over time, this consistency creates an inner certainty that others can immediately sense. Respect is also influenced by the way you respect the boundaries of others. People notice those who listen without interrupting, honor commitments, avoid manipulation, and recognize personal limits. Mutual respect grows when both individuals understand that healthy relationships are built on consideration rather than control. Those who consistently respect themselves while respecting others create an atmosphere of trust instead of fear. This balance is what separates genuine authority from domination. Domination may produce obedience, but only character produces lasting respect. In the end, boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about protecting the standards that define who you are. They communicate that your values are not negotiable, your time is meaningful, and your dignity does not depend on another person's approval. When you consistently uphold those standards, with calm confidence rather than anger, people begin to understand that your respect cannot be purchased with flattery or taken away through intimidation. They recognize a person who knows their worth, lives according to clear principles, and refuses to compromise their character for acceptance. That quiet certainty is one of the strongest psychological signals of respect, and it leaves an impression that words alone can never achieve.